Good day, teachers. Today I will be sharing to you Classcraft, a quest for every module, engaging learners through gamification using Classcraft. Please forgive me, dear teachers, if for today I won't be guiding you on how to create your own Classcraft and even going into more details about the different tools which you can use in Classcraft. The moderators of this webinar have already pasted on the chat box a link to my YouTube tutorial for that one. So if you want to know more about what Classcraft is and how to create an account, you may want to watch that video. So let me proceed. All right. So first, at least an overview of what Classcraft is. Classcraft is a game-based approach to teaching and learning. It was created to encourage students a participation in class in our context today in their own homes with the lessons with their lessons to promote good online behavior and develop 21st century skills like collaboration and communication. Again, in this context, even away from each other. Still encourages students' participation in class while promoting good behavior. It operates under the premise of a reward system. They'll be able to earn and use special powers to support their own academic learning, as well as help their teammates when they need it. They get some other cool perks if you got a premium account for their hard work like new equipments and pets to customize their characters. Um, Classcraft turns your regular lessons into a gamified one. But dear teachers, this does not mean that our lessons are boring. I believe that we as teachers are creative enough to motivate our students. So in this webinar, I will share to you ideas to use Classcraft as a way or as a tool to motivate our students more. Okay? Hence, as early as now, I would like to introduce to you the term gamification, and in this webinar, I will give you an idea of how your modules can be a gamified one. Okay, so what is gamification? Gamification describes the process of applying game-related principles, such like having powers, choosing a specific role to play, like a mage, a healer, a tank, a first-person shooter, a policeman, a person that would always go against the law. Those are the roles our students would play in different games. With that context, we will be using and getting that idea into our context as educators rather. So, since gamers voluntarily spend countless hours playing games and even solving problem solving, researchers and educators have always been exploring ways to harness the video gamers' power for motivation and apply it to the classroom. Okay, so yeah, the idea of gamification is to get their addictive value of games into our educational context. Now, why gamify modules or lessons, if you may ask? Let me just give you an idea. To those who knows what this logo means, I know you know the game. And earning that badge means that you are on the top tier level player. Okay? I for one played that game, but I haven't reached that level yet. Okay? It's quite addictive. And the reason is that because I want to reach that level. It's a bragging right, for those who plays this game. And so therefore, Classcraft uses again that power of addictiveness for its students to have that sense of fulfillment after doing a task. Now try to imagine your students wanting to do the task because they want to level up. Okay? So that's what Classcraft is aiming the students would be able to uh, achieve through gamifying our module. All right. So again, Classcraft believes that the classroom can be reimagined using technology, games, and storytelling. Okay, emphasize on storytelling. um, that is culturally relevant still to today's youth. Their future is likely to be very different from what we know today. Okay, It's our belief that fostering non-curricular cognitive skills like collaboration, of course, empathy, leadership, communication, and self-expression will be a critical practice in helping prepare them for the challenges they will face as adults. Okay? Now, again, to give you an idea of what are some of the class tools you can use in Classcraft, we have this one, the Wheel of Destiny. It's just a random name picker, glorified name picker, if I may say. Chooses a random student or team to answer questions, pick students for group activities, and more. Okay. We also have the riders of Vey or the random events. This adds some surprise to the day by starting the class with a fun event or condition. So, whenever I use this one, a random event may include silly random events such as make the teacher sing before we begin the class. That's one. But then it's the call of the teacher to click the random events, and then whatever the teacher sets as random events, it will be called randomly. Okay, the teacher doesn't have control. Okay, Macos Valley. This is actually a volume meter. It measures the volume inside the classroom using the microphone of your laptop. But I guess the online live or teaching that we have today, we won't be able to maximize this. Okay? Boss battles. This turns your regular question and answer activity in the classroom as if the students is fighting against a boss. So if you can imagine Street Fighter, that kind of level of game. So a question is asked, if the student answers it correctly, the student attacks the monster, and vice versa if the student gets it wrong. Okay, this one is just a new one. This was just added recently. It's called Kudos. Actually, it's the Kudos part, the Shrine of Asians. It fosters a positive class climate by publishing uplifting messages from one student to another. Okay, so it's like a thumbs up, but more than just thumbs up, it's more of positive vibes to other students. White Mountain, glorified timer, so that the students can be at pace at work. But you can also give this as a way to reward the students eventually. Forest Run, of course, the fastest to do some activities gets rewarded. And last would be the Treasures of Taburos or the Grade Converter. Um, I have not used this really, to its full capacity because each school has a different way of grading the students, okay? So more with that in my other tutorial. Now, to dive in deeper, these are the Classcraft characters, okay? So the images you see there are what the students will be playing. We have there a healer, a mage, and a warrior. Now, what do these three characters do and what can they do in the game? All right. So first, we focus on the warriors first. Warriors are the game protectors. When a member is about to lose health points, a warrior can use their powers to absorb the damage while simultaneously neutralizing it so the warriors loses fewer HP. And if you can see on your screen right now, the warriors have different skills and capabilities specific to him. So protect one, first aid, hunting, protect two, but the list goes on, teachers. That's not just the powers a warrior can get. Okay, much much like the online games you're playing, hindi they are not limited to only for abilities. Okay, but do take note of how it is described there. Okay, because later on, if you try to experience Classcraft yourself, you can really modify that specific to the need of your class. Now we are in the online context, and we can be more, we can modify that more based on the need of our online context rather. Okay, so actually, one good suggestion about who warriors are those students who struggles a lot when it comes to their academics. That's one. Next, we have the mages. They are the suppliers of action points. If you play that online game, you know the blue buff or the purple buff, that is important. And mages are full of it. Okay? So it's called action points in Classcraft. And they can do that so that other characters, other teammates can have more action points so that they can do more. Okay? Do take note of how I customize it based on my customization. Sorry. Okay, so mana transfer, like invisibility, instead that they would be invisible, I identified it there as that the mage can go to the CR or allow his groupmates to go to the CR if the teacher did not allow a member to go to the CR. Okay? But still, since the teacher is the game master, they cannot just abuse this power. Okay? There are still limitations. I am the game master, I'm the teacher. I will still call the shots. Okay. Now, important character too are healers. They perform healing functions and even not just healing others, but also they can heal themselves. As how it is defined, some of the abilities of the healer there are just like the Ardent Faith. During a formative assessment, formative, not summative, so formative assessment, the healer can ask the game master if their answer to a question is correct. Okay, so it's like cheating, but it's the power of a healer, and they can maximize it during the game. Again, teachers, there's a plethora of ways on how you can maximize each character's abilities. It's up to your creativity. Okay, now just to give you an idea, if you are aware of how to play games online, they do not just have these powers instantaneously. It needs to be earned. And so we have powers and power trees. Okay? So at the earliest level of the game, students can only learn two powers. And as they level up, okay, they will be able to add more because their characters are leveling up. Okay? So say for example, if the best ability of their hero is for their hero to have one free correct answer for every formative assessment, then they would need to level up first so that their character would be on that right level for that character to learn that skill. Okay, so that's just one way of um, personalizing how your powers are defined. Okay, so warriors, healers, and mages can each learn different powers that can either be game-based, okay, just like what I'm saying to you, personal, or even academic in nature. Okay, so much with the overview of tools and the characters, but really the reason why I want to share Classcraft in this webinar today is to answer this question. So, how would Classcraft, how can Classcraft help teachers in delivering their modules or lessons in a gamified way? Okay, that's one question. And then another one is, other than being online, because I know that not everyone has the advantage of the internet, also another question can be, how can this be applicable for offline delivery of module or lessons, okay? So that this webinar would make sense to all the sectors of the educational community here in the Philippines. I try to find a way on how Classcraft can be used in different modalities. All right, and I hope you'd appreciate my effort in thinking of ways on how we can use Classcraft, and then you can um, explore it on your own, dear teachers. All right. So actually, a way for you to do that is using Classcraft Quest. This is not a tool, okay? Looking at your screen, you can see there the word Classcraft right on the upper right, and then Mathematics 101. There are 5 other buttons there, and one of them is the quest. This quest really, if you have your module already, turns your modules into self-paced, it depends, self-paced, teacher-paced quest that the students will do, okay, in accordance to the flow of your topic in your module. So what does that mean? So Quest enables teachers to turn this lesson already that you have to exciting adventures for your students to discover on their own. It depends on your creativity to teachers, because if you want, if as I'm suggesting right now, that if you want to really harness that game feels for the students, we need to be creative when it comes to writing backstories, not just teaching math and then saying, okay, solve this, solve this, solve this. But Quest gives us the opportunity to turn this module into a story mode like example. Okay, uh, moving on. Yeah, so actually this is the website for that quest. Okay, Classcraft provided a separate website wherein um, I consider this as the repository of quests made by teachers for teachers. Okay, so in as much as this webinar Kaagapay is free to all, and eventually you'll earn your certificates, Classcraft already have done that for the past by helping a lot of teachers think of creative ways on how they can deliver their lesson. And this is through this website, a different website, still connected with Classcraft, which is the marketplace. Okay, actually, when I had the opportunity to create my own quest, I submitted it to Classcraft, and they were able to upload it on the website. Okay, so I created one. The title is The King's Effect. It's now on the marketplace. Um, I was thankful enough that they uploaded it and they approved of it. So yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity for me to know that if there's anyone in my subject, religion, CLE, would have to think of ways to teach it in a different way, then at least I have created one. Okay, uh, for them to have an idea how to teach it in a different way. Okay, so how does that look? This is the one I created, the one uploaded in Classcraft Marketplace. So actually, the description is there. It's the quest is intended for the I created the quest for the lesson on about the judges of Israel. Specifically, my topic back then was the prophet Amos. Okay, so try to imagine, dear teachers, I'm trying to teach Amos. I would still have to use Bible verses. I would have to quote Bible quotations, Bible verses, Bible lines, everything. But I have to create a different fictional story to immerse my students more. But the story may not just be fictional. For those who are teaching social science here, it can really be what is happening in our country. And I think when I taught them the topic about the prophet Amos, it does not go away with the issues that are happening in our society today. So actually, more blessed are the other subjects because when you go to Classcraft Marketplace, topics specific to your subjects, lessons specific to your subjects are already available. There is a ton for science, math, English, and really, I pity you because as a CLE teacher, I have to create my own, or even so, I have to copy somebody else's quest and then edit it, tweak it, rephrase it so that it would suit my topic, my subject that I'm teaching. Okay, so that's an overview. Um, Here's an example of how I use Quest in my Classcraft lesson. All right. So yeah, so first, I created a sample class for this, so Kaagapay sample class. There are three characters within it. There is a healer, okay, and then a warrior and a mage. It's always good for for the students to be grouped with three characters represented. Okay, so these are my positive behaviors. Okay, you can edit that, you can customize that. The same positive behavior can be given to all depending on what they did, and even negative behaviors. This is the first ability of my warrior. Okay, so look at that, it's quest. Okay, that's what I was talking about a while ago. So the wayfinder, okay, And then you can notice here that it's an I with a slash. That means that the students can't view that yet because you're still doing or creating the module. So if you click on the first quest, I have already created it. There are a number of steps, but the first one usually is just an overview. So this is when your story begins. Okay, so try to imagine I'm teaching a prophet, and yet it's not taught in a traditional way. Okay, so we move on to the quest, and then the story continues, but this is when tasks are given. For the first task, I gave the students chance to access a Google Drive I created for them. I gave them access for it, to it rather, so that it's the folder for their submission. Okay. Okay, let's wait for this to load. And other than that, since this is modular, it should be very specific. Okay, so steps there are provided, and more than the steps, I even screen captured what each of the steps looks like. Okay, so if they enter Google Drive, they have to click that plus button, and then after clicking plus, they have to click Google Documents, and then after clicking Google Documents, they have to rename it in a very specific way. Okay? And these are all screenshots provided in that task. Settings, I can even enable settings and give them points if they can properly do it, execute it on their own. Okay? Moving on in the storyline, the story continues, the story progresses, tasks are given, okay? And again, XPs or experience points are given so that students would level up while they are doing the activity. And as the path continues, they may have been reading a different storyline, but actually it's an application of what I taught them about the Prophet Amos. Okay? It's very specific to a point that there are certain characters that needs to do a specific task. Okay? See, using Safari, yeah, the healer would have to do something, okay? See, these are very specific tasks so that I am aware that the students are doing different tasks simultaneously. With that, we avoid also students copying, cheating, or copying answers from their classmates, from their group mates, because each role has a different task to do. Okay? So actually, meron pa akong after credits wherein they have to click join a quizzes game. The code is provided also. Okay. Yeah, let me just copy that. Okay. And then copy and then paste. Actually, it's not active anymore because this was played a year ago. Yeah. So it's an invalid game anymore if you try to access that yourself. But yeah, it's just a cool way to really know where they are after going through the module. Okay. But this is a different. I mean, sorry. This is how it looks like online. Whether the teacher is with the students synchronously or not with the students asynchronously, the teacher will be able to track the progress of the students based on where they are in the quest. Okay? So what about those who can't afford, for students who can't afford to really be online and experience Classcraft this way? Okay, so my suggestion would be this one. Okay, later. Sorry, this is how it appears on the student's gadget. Okay, they're using an iPad. It's also available on an Android device, even in cell phones. Okay, for them to be able to access Quest, they need to go to game.classcraft.com. So, Classcraft is available two ways, either as a standalone app or through online using a browser. Okay, so that gives us different many options. Okay, this is how it appears to them. Okay, the one I just shared a while ago. And you can notice on the left part, or rather left part of that right part of my presentation, the number of students who accomplished it. Okay, I have 36 students, and so far at that moment there were only 35 students who made it through. Okay, so we also have an overview or an idea how many students have been doing the task successfully. Okay, moving on. Okay, this is an example of the output a student created based on the task I gave them. And actually, when I gave this activity, I would have taught them first who the Prophet Amos is. Okay, I would have given them lecture first, and this was a standalone activity, and I was there as a teacher for 1 hour, looking at them doing the task on their own. As the game master, they would just approach me and ask me, "Teacher, what does this mean?" And this is just for clarification. And these are only a handful of students too. uh, Very good students would not even bother asking you, and you will just be surprised of the kind of output they will submit by the end of the period. I said by the end of the period because when I gave this activity, this was given in a regular classroom setup, one RCLE period. The rest of the entire period during that time was just given in this way. Okay. And so I was able to assess their understanding by allowing them to go through the story, which is in connection to the previous lecture I gave them, which is about the prophet Amos. Now, in our context today, since we are online, we are aware of synchronous and asynchronous activity or tasks. I suggest that during synchronous activity, we give them lectures, and during asynchronous tasks, we let them on their own and do classcraft. Okay? Okay, another sample. Another sample. Okay. A way for me to motivate my students before was to give them experience points or even gold points, whatever they ask of me. But then I would have to ask them, okay, class, we have a mass next week, okay, a celebration of the Eucharist. Can I ask some of you to volunteer and then just maybe personal message me through Classcraft's messaging capability, what you brought for today, okay, so that I would be the only one to know, not your class, so that the points would be given to you. Okay, so it's not it's a way for me to, in a way, motivate them to bring stuff like flowers during a mass, donations, and the things that I would require them of or ask of them, given what is necessary. Okay, and so yeah, uh, people would, students would send me a message and inform me of what they brought as a sharing for that day's activity. Okay, so there are even times when I ask them to give me a feedback about how Classcraft is in the class, and this one is what my student said about how he views Classcraft and how I use it in my CLE classes. Okay. Now again, going back, this is how I imagine to use Classcraft for those who are not able to access who do not have internet access, uh, students who do not have internet access, I'm sorry. Okay, so I remember the quest I provided, I've shown you a while ago. I turned it to a Google document. Okay, there. So see, it's tabular, so that on the first row, it's the story, it's the flow. The middle row would be or the middle column rather. So the first column would be the story. The second column would be the task, and then the third column will be the reward. Okay. If you already have your modules with you, then you can only what you only need to add would be the storyline to make things interesting. But then this is just a suggestion, dear teachers. Okay, once you have already this tabular format of your quest in Classcraft, then you can print this and then give this to your students. And you just have to explain to them what's the reason behind this tabular format. A more creative way of doing it is by printing it as if it is a storybook. Okay, I know there is a lack of printing materials. Um, in as much as we want to really motivate our students, this is my suggestion so that students would still remain engaged in the teaching, in the learning process, and we teachers would not always be ending up only that teaching them in a traditional way. Though I am not saying that teaching students in a traditional way is not okay. Believe me, I do. It is very still a successful way of a good way of teaching students. But in dealing with 21st century skills, there are many times when researchers would say that there are some students needs that students needs to also be creative so that their knowledge of processes may be applicable to different situations in their future life. Okay? So I think that would be all. If there are any questions, feel free to ask me. So that is it. Classcraft, a quest for every module, engaging learners through gamification using Classcraft. Okay? Again, a separate tutorial has been made already in my different webinar. The link is in the description box. Okay? Thank you, dear teachers. I Good luck to all of us. Okay, Godspeed.